What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Sound Design channel. My name is La, and today we're going to look at a little remake of a track called Together by MURA MASA. So let's have a little listen to what we're going to make. Cool, so I'll go through the channels and then I'll go into detail about what's in the channels. So we have this synth here. And then it's layered with this little audio thing that I have underneath. And then we got the snare. And then just a kick. Right, so that's it. There's a few layers in there. There is more to the track, the original track. There's obviously the original vocal in there, and a few little like effects and stuff like that. But the main basis of the track is within this remake here. All right, cool. So let's take a look at the sound design within Serum. It looks like some craziness is going on right now. You see all this movement going on, but it's not as crazy as you might think. So all we have is just a sawtooth here. We're using this basic MCB, which you see in the analog section. You can play around with a lot of cool different waveforms here, which gives it a really nice tone. So if we tried out like the digital, this one's really nice. Just add some harmonics. You can then play around with the wave the position. I really like that one, but it wasn't similar to the original, so I just put it onto this basic one here. But yeah, so the only modulation we've got going on within Serum is this LFO, which is modulating the bend. So that's just going to modulate the waveform positively and negatively. So it's going to just change it slightly or bend the waveform, which gives it a little bit of depth. Let me just turn this off and on so you hear. It kind of just stays the same. It doesn't really feel like it's moving that much. With that, it kind of goes from being quite deep and bassy to then being a bit more open. And that's what I noticed within the original. The other thing you need to do is just add some unison to this. And that's so you can modulate the detune and the bend, which is what I've done. And that just gives it like a nice bit of width and also this slight detune feel. The other thing is just a little bit of portamento or glide. There's nothing on the effects. That's it. It's just a bit of white noise as well, so I forgot to mention that. And the white noise just stays the same. There's no modulation there. Cool. So let's take a look at all the stuff that's going on afterwards. If you want to modulate any of the things, which is what we're doing here, you just need to click on them, and then you'll get the option to modulate them. So see phase is now here, and it will come up as an option here. We don't want that for now, but yeah, that's how you bring it up. So if we look at the first things in the chain, we have OTT and an amp. So all I'm doing, the way that I was thinking is I need to push the sound out quite a bit, add a bit of color to it and some dirtiness and saturation. And that's what I've done with this amp and this OTT. So I'll just turn them off. Just feels a bit flat now. So that's bringing out the high end. As you can hear that the OTT really does a lot for the high end. Also this amp is as well. And this is just the default amp that you get within Ableton. And I just picked this blues setting. There's a few different ones here and they really do drastically change the sound. If we put it on lead or heavy, bass. So yeah, you can play around with these and get some really nice results. And then yeah, this is just the default OTT. If you don't have Ableton, OTT is a multi-band compressor essentially. It excites things or it expands things and also compress things. So it contains the sound and also enhances it. So it's a really, really cool effect. You can get a free OTT, I think through the same company as Serum. So yeah, go and check that out. It's a very, very good tool to have. And so we have a little of an EQ here, but it's not really doing anything. It was just more for the spectral analyzer I was just using it for. And then we've got a bit of a chorus, and that's just going to add a bit more width and a bit of movement within the sound. Just adds a little bit of a slight tone as well. And if I exaggerate it, it has that kind of phasing feeling, which is quite nice, but I don't want it to be too strong. Cool, so the shaper. So If you've watched Big Z's cover of this, then he will show you that he did it with a plugin or third-party plugin called Cable Guys. And this is a plugin within Ableton or from Max for Life. If you don't have this, if you're on maybe Ableton 10, you can try this with the Auto Pan. I'll just show you quickly. It doesn't quite have the same depth or effect, but we can just, I can't remember how to spell auto. There we go. Put Auto Pan here. Okay, yeah, so you just put your Auto Pan on and you just take the phase down, and then you can choose the amount. You want it to be pretty high, all the way up, in fact. We'll just take this off. So right now it's very slowly just cutting the sound off and then opening it up. So say if you do... So you get a similar effect, that kind of LFO effect, and you would just modulate, you essentially just automate this rate. But I've already done that in the shaper. And so with this shaper, you can do some pretty cool stuff just with like the depth and the offset and the phase. And that's what can give the LFO different feeling every time, rather than it always being the same kind of movement. So all I've got going on is I'm just assigning this, you map things. So in this case, we've mapped the cutoff filter, and I've also mapped other things. You can do quite a few here. And you just set the percentage, so the amount. Say if we want it to be really open or really close, you just choose the amount, how much you want it to open up by, and then how much you want it to start, where you want it to start from. For me, I felt like in the original it was like slightly open straight away, but not too much. And then, yeah, I just assigned the same kind of thing, but with the unison and the bend. So that's just going to make it so that there's a slight detune and a slight bend to the to the voices, and it's going to give it a little bit of depth. And they're just moving at the same speed as the LFO. So where you have your fun is within the rate. So you click on the rate, and then we go here, and you see this automation here. So I've got three types of automation. We've got the shape, the rate, which is just going really quick, and then slowing down gradually, and then quick again and slows down. And then on some of them, it starts off a little bit slower and then goes even slower. So it just gives it a little bit of a different shape. And then we've got the offset, and that's just essentially giving it some weird kind of movement, so it's not starting exactly where it should do. And I'm just increasing that and decreasing that over time. If we take this away, or if I exaggerate, essentially that's what I'm trying to do, but just in a short burst. And this just gives it like a different unique tone essentially. And then the depth is just like a dry wet knob. So if you have the depth all the way over, it's going to be fully affecting the sound. If you decrease it slightly, it's going to allow the sound to come through without being LFO'd. The reason why we're doing this LFO after all the processing is because it kind of cleans up the sound a bit more. If you do the LFO within Serum, it's already, the synth is being LFO'd, and then you're going to put these effects on, and the effects won't be LFO'd as harshly as the synth essentially. And it's quite good that you can now see like within your chain what's going on. You can have more control over it essentially. Very cool effect. And the good thing is, if we now take this chain, oh sorry, and there's one other thing, it's just a side chain compressor to the kick. But say if we take this chain, and what I did is I grouped it together. So you just highlight them all, press Control and G, group them, and I've called it wobble effect. So you could possibly save this if you wanted to. So then you have it as a thing that you can use all the time. And then if you apply it to something else, like an audio file. So I've got this audio file through PML, which is in the Atmos acoustic pack, sorry. And I just picked a random thing that had a C sharp in it, because that's what the root note is of the track. So if we listen to this, it's some kind of like lead techno sound. And I just wanted to see what it would sound like with that same effect on. So if I just turn this up. Without it. So the way you do this, you have to do it a little bit different, is you just put an auto filter at the end. So I'm essentially just applying a filter to whatever I want in here. So if I want like drums or whatever it is, in this case it's just like a long audio file, could be a vocal or whatever. you need to put a filter on so then it closes the sound down. You could also use an EQ8 just like this, and that would also act as a filter and it would close the sound down like this, right? So that's all I've done, and I just applied this frequency thing and mapped it to the cutoff filter. You can see there. I'll just do it again. And that's what's giving that movement, and it's going to move at the same speed as the other synth, and so they kind of sync with each other. So all together, it's like. But I wanted that as like a really quiet layer just to underneath. Cool. So let's go to the snare. So the snare is it's an interesting one. I actually made this kind of by accident. I was trying to find some sounds like this to just layer underneath for fun. And then I came across this sound here. I wonder if I've got the full sound here. So I just heard this kind of ooh, like kind of a vocal. This one. So that sounds really similar to the original sound, whatever it is. But then obviously it needs to be layered with some stuff to make the snare. So it's like this. So all I did is I took that small snippet, dragged it here, and then I stretched it out. So if you hold shift on an audio file, you can stretch it out. The reason I did that is because the original was a bit longer. As you can see here, it's about this long. So I just stretched it to the same length. And then I just layered it with some different tones. So with a main snare like this. Like an acoustic, open, bright snare. And then we have this metal layer. Bit of a like hi-hat layer. And then this real like metallic layer. Yeah, so they all layer together. They're panning left and right, these two layers, the metallic ones. And then we've got some overdrive on there and just an EQ to get rid of the lows. And yeah, all together, it sounds pretty close to the original. The kick, by the way, is just from Deep Premium Volume 5 through PML, and it's kick number 19. We just closed down the sub a little bit so it's not too open, so that synth can come through and breathe, essentially. Yeah, that's it. That's everything that I've done within here. I hope this was helpful for you guys. If it was, let us know in the comments. Also, leave a like, please, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any more of our content. Thank you very much, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.